Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. How are you?
I am great, and today we're going to talk a little conference championship previews with a former San Francisco 49er legend, winner of 3 Super Bowls. Should have been 4, but 1983, y'all got screwed by the officials against the Washington Redskins. Help me welcome in Randy Cross. How you doing, Randy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's that's a memory that tends to stick, just like the wins do.
Yeah, I always think of that game because I got a buddy, Matt, who I think you've been on a show with before, that always brings that up. It's still a sore spot 40 years later for him. But this weekend, we're going to start off with the AFC Championship, the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. When you look at this game, initially, what kind of shot do you think the Titans have here, Randy?
Well, if you'd have asked most people what kind of shot they had against Baltimore, they would have said slim and none, especially considering what kind of a matchup that was, kind of strength on strength. But I think Vrabel and Tannehill and Derrick Henry and that defense surprised a lot of people, least of which weren't the Baltimore Ravens. I think Kansas City is in a position where they operate so uniquely different from Tennessee. This could either be a really good matchup for them, or it could be like they won't know what to do with them when they don't get the ball back as often as they're used to.
Yeah, Anthony, same question. Initial look, I know you think the Titans have a big shot here.
I'm kind of 50-50 here with the Titans. I was one of those who did not believe they had a shot against Baltimore, and that really just blew up in my face. But you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a high-octane offense. They finally have the semblance of a running game now that Damian Williams is back and healthy. He's played well in his last 2 games dating back to Week 17. And the biggest difference from this Chiefs team to last year's Chiefs team is how well this defense is playing. The addition of Tyrann Mathieu it's paying dividends. But the weakness is still stopping the run, and Derrick Henry has been the hottest and probably best running back in the game.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a probably about it anymore, but Randy, we are talking to a Dallas Cowboy fan, so he still thinks the Cowboys could go to the Super Bowl.
Hey, when you're the number 1 offense in the league and you're still 8-8, you do have some different issues.
Yeah, usually I think with them it's just the owner. But when we look at this, I think that this is going to be the ability, and we saw it the first time that they played each other, Randy, is the ability to create vertical deep shot throws off of play action for Ryan Tannehill, and they did it in the Week 10 matchup with Tannehill finding wide receiver Khalif Raymond on a first down pass for 52 yards. And this is something where if you're Kansas City, you can't just sit in your base defense or the Titans are going to run the ball down their throat. So what do you think the key here to stopping Derrick Henry and this Titan run game is?
Well, I think it's pretty much from the inside out. You don't worry too much about power sweeps and those type of things with Derrick Henry. When he beats people, look at the size of this guy. The dude's like 6'4", 250 almost. Yeah. And he's going between the tackles, and he's in there for long. He's a guy that can really get through, and that offensive line has done just an excellent job blocking wise. So I agree on the play action, but ultimately with this team, especially going against an offense like this, I would make a hard argument that if you can establish the run, your goal going into every game, or at least this game, should be every play's got to get me 3.5 yards. Can you guys get me 3.5 yards running? And if you can do that or better, you're going to have some long, drawn-out drives of just power football. and that will put an absolute premium. And see if that can affect Mahomes in that offense a little bit. If they start to press, that'll be an issue. That's what Jackson and company did last week against Tennessee, is they got out of their comfort zone and just never really adapted. Because I think they've got the talent on the outside, and Tannehill, obviously the highest rated passer in the league, has got the ability. But, I think the great thing about Vrabel that he showed last week was, if you don't stop something, it's not like he's going to try to prove to everybody how smart he is. He'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, and the thing I loved about Vrabel is when they get the turnover, immediately going for the quick kill and throwing the ball deep, which made the game 14-0, which I think put Baltimore out of their comfort zone and took them away from what they really wanted to do.
Well, and Tannehill throws a really nice deep ball. Not to be mean about this, but man, there's got to be some teams in other places, Miami, that are looking at this week and going, where was that guy? How come we couldn't get that guy? Well, you know what? You had that guy. So
but now they got Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's just as good, right?
The Fitz magic, yeah. So when you look at guys go other places and do so well, sometimes it's you.
Yeah. And usually it is. And when we look at this, Anthony, I think that Kansas City, I expect to see them roll out some early rundown blitzes and maybe shoot the A-gaps there. But I also think Tyrone Matthew is an edge blitzer, because I think the Chiefs have to create some kind of conflict for the Titans' offensive line.
Well, Matthew's a player. You can put him all over the field, and he's also a ball hawk. He's going to try to create that turnover.
Yeah, and when you go to the other side and you look at Kansas City, I think the key thing, what you just said, Randy, is they've still got to be patient and run the offense they want, because we'll see a lot of times with teams that like to throw the ball, score a lot of points, when they get kind of bogged down because the other team's offense is on the field so much, they tend to come out and try to do too much.
Yeah, that's almost 100% of the time. And that's just born out of impatience. That's born out of frustration at times. And that's something the coaches have to try to avoid and be very cognizant of when they go into the game, not to get too distracted. Though, with all the toys that Mahomes has, there's so many things at his disposal in that offense that, it's hard to say, well, gee, he's got to do this or he's got to do that. They've got to be them. And that sounds like an all-encompassing cliche, but in their case, just do what you do. Get the ball to Kelsey. Get the ball on the ground and some running. Let Mahomes get out there and just make stuff happen and move around in the pocket. I mean, that's the stuff, at least for me, it's funnest to watch when it comes to Kansas City.
Yeah, and I would think if I'm defending Kansas City, if I have to take away any of those weapons, Travis Kelsey seems to be the guy that I'd want to be able to limit. And I think safety Kevin Byard is huge in trying to take away or at least limit Kelsey.
Yeah, if you're gonna take that Belichick approach, where you're gonna go into the game and say you can't have that, I'm gonna make everything sure with different kind of approaches throughout the game that you're not going to be able to get the ball to him. You're gonna have to beat me with something else. That goes a long way towards building that comfort zone and building that feeling that is the exact opposite of that comfort zone.
Yeah. When you look at this, Anthony, what do you think is the big thing here? Because I don't think Kansas City is really going to be able to run the ball that successful. If they can't, I think that causes a lot of issues in this game.
I think the big thing for Tennessee, I have a question about their depth of playmakers, not named Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. So if the Kansas City Chiefs do what they do and jump off to a 10 to 14 point lead early, can the Titans dig their way out, or are they a team like the Cowboys, like the Vikings, to where you need to be playing with the lead, just like the Baltimore Ravens? The Ravens got down very early and they were playing catch up and couldn't dig their way out of the hole. And that's my biggest worry with the Titans.
I would say this, and I'll direct this at Randy, but I think with Mike Vrabel, even 10-0 or 14-0, Derrick Henry's still going to get the ball. I don't think they're going to deviate from what they do at 10-0 or 14-0 in the first quarter.
No, I really don't think so. And that game last week, if anyone ever needs evidence of being patient and how long a game really is, you get down 24-0. If there's a spot to panic, that's the place to panic. And, I think that tells a lot of people and it reminds a lot of people that games like this can spin on plays, even when it's down at that 21-24. I wouldn't suggest doing that against Kansas City at the speed and the rate they can put up points. But, yeah, I think 10 to 14 points, you're still going to be who you are. You get any more than that, and you're probably going to have to start throwing a little bit more than you're comfortable.
Yeah, and they don't have the weapons, I think is what Anthony's saying, if it does come down to that.
Right.
So, all right.
See, in Tannehill's biggest wins this year, which was against Kansas City, these playoff games, and I think even in the season finale against Houston, he's thrown fewer than 20 passes. And Derrick Henry, on the other side, has ran for at least 180 yards in all of those games.
Yeah, but the other thing to remember is this. Even 2 years ago and then the game this year, in 2 games, Derrick Henry's run for 330 yards against the Chiefs. So they haven't been able to figure out an answer to him the last 2 times they've played.
Now, the last time out was Mahomes. We talked about this and yesterday, or the episode the day before. Was Mahomes playing in that last game where Tennessee won?
Week 10? Yeah, I think it was one of his first games back, wasn't it, Randy?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yes, it was. And really the difference was they just couldn't stop. They couldn't stop Henry, so they never really got comfortable on the defensive side as to being able to dictate at any time. And they've got the guys that can go get them. I mean, they got T-Sizzle now on the outside as an ad to kind of replace D Ford. But they can go after the quarterback, and Matthew can be in a position to make things happen. But when you're going into the locker room at halftime and looking for neck rolls, you're not doing the right things on the defensive side if you're the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think this. I never thought I would see another running back like Earl Campbell. Derrick Henry is about the closest thing I've seen to it, only I think, even a faster version, Randy.
Oh, he is. He is. He has shown, and as weird as it sounds when you look at the dimensions and his size, he is one of those legitimate 4.5, 40 kind of guys. So if he gets a burst, most defensive backs aren't going to catch him. And that's something that surprises, I think, a lot of players.
Oh, yeah. Look at the length of his runs this year, Anthony. This is a guy that's got 68, 90-yard runs. I mean, he's not your typical power back that's just going to go 4 or 5 yards here or there.
Yeah, not even the run, but early in the year, he actually broke like an 80-yard touchdown catch.
Yeah.
Which shows his speed.
Yeah. So my question is this. Who would be your MVP of the NFL this year, Randy? Would it still be Lamar Jackson?
Oh, yeah. I think the way we've got this structured and have had it structured for quite some time, MVP is, that's the award for the regular season. That's not an award overall or postseason or anything else. I don't think it takes anything away from the season that he had and the things that he did in the regular season. Rings are for the people that know how to finish.
Yeah. That's a shot at Dallas Cowboy fans over the last 25 years, isn't it, Randy?
Oh, no, I would never do that.
Just love to pack it on, Mike.
Yes, I do. All right.
Coming from a Bengals fan.
Yeah, I'm a Bengals fan. I know what's up. Randy done stole a couple rings from my team, but, I know I'm probably never going to get one, even though I still hold out the hope that next year we're going to have Randy on and talk about a Bengals 49ers Super Bowl with Joe Burrow going up against Jimmy Garoppolo.
Woo-woo. That'd be
go.
a hell of a turnaround, wouldn't it? Number 1 pick to Super Bowl?
Yeah. Why couldn't it? We've seen it before. Hell, at Super Bowl 16, the Bengals and 49ers were 6-10 and 12, or 4-12 the year before that, and ended up playing each other in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Of course, nobody had a rookie quarterback. and Mike Brown didn't own the Bengals. But if we have to pick this game, which we do, Anthony, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this is Andy Reid's best shot to go to and possibly win a Super Bowl since he got there the last time with Philadelphia. I really like the way the Kansas City defense is playing, especially in the secondary, and I think that's going to be the difference.
All right, Randy?
Yeah, I think Kansas City too. I think it's a 7 to 10 point win. I think it's close until a turnover sometime in the early to middle of the fourth quarter, and Kansas City scores a touchdown to get out by that about 10 points or so to make it more comfortable. But I think that running game and the defense of Tennessee is going to keep it tight for most of the game.
All right, I'm going to go with the Titans. And I'm going with the Titans for one simple reason. They're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and people forget, since Super Bowl IV, the Kansas City Chiefs have pretty much puked all over themselves, even at home in the playoffs. I think something's going to happen here. I think Derrick Henry has a big game, and I think the Titans win 27-24.
There you go. Well, if they were going to puke all over themselves, 24-0 was the spot to do it.
Nah, there's no pressure there. Then you're supposed to lose. All right, NFC Championship game. I expected there will be no homerism here, but the Green Bay Packers will go to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. What are the keys here, Randy?
Well, you look at that Monday night game, and it really wasn't very close. And a lot of that was because of the way the defense got after Aaron Rodgers, the way the Niner offense kind of smiled and dialed and ran the ball and got the ball out. And those things are still going to be in place. I just don't put much cotton into the regular season game affecting what happens in the playoff game. I think Aaron Rodgers will play considerably better. The offensive line will play a little bit better, which will give him some more room. But when he's moving, that's when he's his most dangerous. And that defense is going to make him move. Jones running the ball will be pretty good. And I think that defense will do just enough to frustrate San Francisco a little bit. But I think the Niners ultimately win by about 3 points. I think this is a tight game.
We were actually going to talk about it before you made your pick, but the homer thing made you pick it right away, didn't it?
This is going to be a tight game, but I think San Francisco is the better team.
All right, Anthony. Anthony loves Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
I don't.
Okay. So what do you think here? What's your first take when you look at this matchup?
My first take is trying to figure out if the Packers have a fighting chance because the 49ers are the more talented team. The 49ers dominated them early, and last year without Jimmy Garoppolo on a Monday Night Football game, C.J. Beathard almost beat the Green Bay Packers. So I do believe Kyle Shanahan is going to put up points. I just need to see the Packers need to see if they can go head-to-head with Jimmy Garoppolo points-wise. And I think Davante Adams is going to have to play a big role into it. Yeah. Davante Adams is going to have a career game last week against Seattle. About 20 yards a catch, 8 for 160 with the touchdown. Aaron Jones didn't do much on the ground, did score twice, but just around 40, 45 yards rushing. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a bigger day on the ground to open up things for Aaron Rodgers, but there needs to be a semblance of a supporting cast. There's been a revolving door at wide receiver for the Packers all season long, not named Davante Adams. Jimmy Graham has dropped more touchdowns than he's caught. Who's going to be that other guy? And I think we could see maybe Marquez Valdes-Scantling step up, who did go for over 100 yards in his rookie year last year in that Monday Night Football game.
Well, I think a big key here is Emmanuel Mosley. Because Emmanuel Mosley replaced Witherspoon, who's been terrible this year. And Davante Adams, in the first game against Mosley, only caught like 1 or 2 passes for 14 yards, Anthony.
What, you're saying just against Mosley or his stat line altogether?
I think he's got to go against Mosley. And Mosley last week against the Vikings had a great game. And I think this kid is the one that puts this secondary over the top, Randy, because before they had issues with Witherspoon, and when Mosley has replaced Witherspoon, this secondary has been a lot better.
Well, this secondary is always significantly better when they're getting pass rush in front of them. Of course, that's true with everybody.
Yeah.
But when this group is hunting, they can take a lot of different chances. And that I think to me is one of the more intriguing things. I mean, if Green Bay can protect Aaron Rodgers, I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. He can do some serious stuff. You know, we still don't really know if Jimmy G just throwing the ball for the better part of a game. We know he can come back at the end of a game. But if they frustrate the run and they've got to do most of this through the air, I think he's still got to cut some teeth when it comes to that. And if I'm Green Bay, that's something I really want to go out of my way to make happen.
Yeah, and I think the biggest matchup here is Joe Staley against Zadarius Smith and Nick Bosa against David Bakhtiari. I think that is where the game is decided, Randy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think all those number one picks for San Francisco, led by Bosa, have got a decent chance to disrupt things pretty good, just like they did. If it's like that Monday night game, that's why that game got so out of whack. Is, you know, it wasn't 1,001, 1,002, 1,000 go. It was 1,001, 1,000 damn. So that if they're on that timing pattern, they're in an offense around that can function properly.
All right. Another key matchup here is, I think, Jimmy Ward, the free safety against Aaron Rodgers. I think that Ward had a great game in November against Rodgers. Rodgers only completed 20 of 33 attempts for 104 yards. And I think Anthony's big question here is, Randy, even if you give Aaron Rodgers time, are there enough weapons outside of Devontae Adams here to be able to win this game?
Well, proven, time-tested, not really. You know, I guess people kind of keep talking about Jimmy Graham, but like you guys pointed out, he's had some drop problems, though he looked pretty solid last week. I think it all sort of starts and ends with Devontae Adams and where that help is always going to be, because you're not going to man him up that much. I don't care who you're going to put on him. You're not going to man him up. The role he's on, he'll make you look pretty damn silly if you man him up much. So it's going to be Aaron Rodgers figuring out, and Jimmy Ward and those safeties kind of splitting up when they're going to be help and where they're going to be doing it.
Yeah, and I think another thing you talked about there, Randy, was Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that he's given linebackers chances to make plays this year, like Kendricks did last week for the Vikings. My concern here for the Packers is, though, you've got Blake Martinez. And I think the biggest weaknesses of this Packers defense is their linebackers' ability to cover. And Blake Martinez in coverage gave up 58 completions on 69 passes thrown his way this year for 500 yards, according to Pro Football Focus. And I think that's going to be a matchup that Garoppolo could really take advantage of.
Yeah, I agree. That's always, if you've got a linebacker, you've got to figure a way to either minimize his reps or cover up his weaknesses when it comes to pass coverage these days, because the pass coverage, the old trying to get to the deep middle, too deep zone idea for linebackers is gone. They've got to cover a lot more area than that, and that used to be a big ask. But yeah, I think getting him isolated with the receivers that they have, and they've got some pretty unusual guys. You're not going to put a tight end, especially a Kittle, on even a safety, much less a linebacker. And all these running backs, if you play for Kyle Shanahan, you got to be able to run and catch. So I think those matchups when it comes to linebackers with running backs are mismatches most times.
All right, so Anthony, who do you got in this game, Packers or Niners? Anthony. I think we might have lost Anthony, Randy.
Oh, wow.
I got to quit making fun of all the 49ers or all the Cowboys all the time.
No, I'm here. I'm back.
Oh, there we go.
I'm back.
All right, you're back. So
I like the Packers to win this game. I know the 49ers have them outmatched, but when it comes down to the quarterback, I do trust Aaron Rodgers more. And I also think people are underrated. Like you brought up Zadarius Smith. There's also Preston Smith on the other side, both free agent acquisitions this offseason. When they're both on, they're all over the quarterback.
Well,
Jimmy Garoppolo is prone to turnovers, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw a pick, or there's going to be a fumble at some point that turns over the momentum in this game.
All right. When I look at this game, all I see is the only advantage I think the Packers have here is a quarterback. I think when you look at George Kittle, you look at the weapons the Niners have, the offensive line the Niners have, the running backs the Niners have. I think that there's just too many what-ifs that need to happen for the Packers to be able to win this game, Anthony. I mean, right now it seems to me that what if it is, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to turn the ball over and Aaron Rodgers is going to get red hot, unconscious, and they're going to win the game.
Yeah, but, you're acting like this is a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who's never done it before. He's one of the better quarterbacks to play the
answer
position.
Me this.
Wasn't there a ton of what ifs last week with the Ravens and the Titans?
No, that was basically, if you remember, because somebody here took the 3.5 to 1 odds in Vegas and won some money. I told you, and I told you all year that they were going to play in the playoffs against a team like the Titans. They were going to fall behind, and Lamar Jackson was going to turn the ball over. That wasn't what-ifs. I told you since week 3 that would happen. Did I not?
No, you did. You definitely did.
So I'm just telling you, when I look at this, and I got to think up 3 or 4 different scenarios to be able to get one way to win, I just think it's a stretch. Now, that could happen. But also answer me this. When is the last time Aaron Rodgers in a playoff game did something like that?
Probably been a while.
Yeah. So, and I don't
but
think
is it all on Aaron Rodgers?
No, I just...
is it all on Aaron Rodgers?
If you don't let me finish...
Look at the personnel.
That is my point. You're making my point for me. Look at the personnel. I don't think that it's not that Aaron Rodgers couldn't do that, but you know what? Tom Brady normally, with a healthy Julian Edelman and a Rob Gronkowski, would have beat Tennessee. He didn't have that. So all of a sudden, you could be Tom Brady, you could be Aaron Rodgers, but if you don't have the guys that can make the plays for you, you're not going to get it done. I don't think he's got the guys here around him to be able to make these plays, and I think the 49ers win this game by double digits.
Yeah, and the home field advantage thing is something the Niners haven't had since they were at Candlestick. But it seems to be back at Levi Stadium. And that can be something that makes it extremely uncomfortable when you have that kind of defense. So if Green Bay can start fast and get them out, that's their best shot. And the guy that's key to that is going to be Rodgers.
Yeah. And answer me this question, Anthony. The time that Aaron Rodgers won the NFC Championship, who was the quarterback for the other team?
What is it? We're talking about 2010. Was it? I don't know.
It was Caleb Haney. And Rodgers threw 2 fourth-quarter picks, but they still won the game. So I'm just telling you, I think Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great quarterback, but I don't think that they've either lacked a running game, they've lacked a defense. Now they lack some wide receivers, and they've got the running game. But I also think this, Aaron Jones is a smaller runner. And I think the 49ers defense is about as fast as I've seen in a while in the NFL. And I think if you're going to run the ball against the 49ers, I think you almost have to be able to run the ball between the tackles more than trying to hit the edges. Well,
you're saying on Green Bay's end?
Yeah, I mean, if Green Bay wants to run the ball, to run the ball on the Niners defense, I don't know if anybody can do it successfully. That's why I would be really interested to watch Derrick Henry against the 49ers, Randy.
Yeah, that would be fun. I like what Kansas City sort of takes, how their approach is. We're going to go after his legs. We're not going to bother trying to hit him high because we don't want to bounce off.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's going to necessitate a lot of shoulders. And that's going to necessitate being in the gaps when he gets there. And against that offensive line, that's a lot easier said than done. Much like that running game that Niners have with that offensive line.
Yeah, and I really think, when all's said and done here, I think Kansas City is going to beat Tennessee probably, but I picked Tennessee just because of the history of the Chiefs. I mean, because they're kind of like the Browns or the Bengals. You know something's going to go wrong at some point.
Yeah, they're a little bit like Charlie Brown. Eventually, Lucy's pulling that ball out.
Yeah, and Mike Brown's falling on his ass trying to kick it. But, all right, Anthony, anything else you want to discuss before we wrap it up?
No, I think we've just about covered everything.
Did you want to ask Randy what it was like to beat the Cowboys in 1981? I'll take that as a no.
No.
Nah. I'm looking forward to that San Francisco Kansas City Super Bowl personally. I think it's going to be exciting.
Well, I think San Francisco Tennessee will probably be a blowout because I think the 49ers are the best team. What do you think about the Green Bay Kansas City Super Bowl you're predicting, Anthony?
I mean, I would love to see it. I think that would have a ton of storyline involved between the two quarterbacks. Andy Reid getting his first Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers would be, could potentially get his second Super Bowl and really kind of put him into that next tier and separate himself from Drew Brees.
Yeah, when you talk about pressure for this week, I think the guys under the most pressure would be Andy Reid in Kansas City and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, Randy.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. They've been there and not doing it there kind of comes back to haunt you. Even if you admit you never talk about it or you never think about it, you think about it.
Yeah, you think about it all the time. But kind of like I think about Randy beat my Bengals twice all the time. Randy, you want to tell everybody where they can hear your show?
Well, I think the best place to get it, go to randycross.com. You can get it Twitter, Facebook, all the normal platforms for stuff like that. And you can always go to the gruelingtruth.com to get it too.
All right. I thought that would be the best place. Anthony, you want to tell everybody where they can find the FF Face-Off?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow my show at the FF Face-Off, and we can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Randy, we'll have to have you back before the Super Bowl.
It'd be my pleasure. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on any podcast or anything that carries any kind of podcast, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube. But for now, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. For Randy Cross, Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.